Today, exactly 1 year since President Tinubu was sworn in, and we've been taking stock on the state of the economy under the president. Yes, Nigerians have had to deal with high inflation, high interest rates, but let's look at some of the economic charts at this time and review how it's working out. Joining us for this conversation is Mr. Kalu Aja, financial analyst. Great to have you on the show. All right, so I think you might. Yeah, so definitely we're seeing a lot of moves. We've seen a lot of moves in the past 1 year, some bold reforms there from the president. And if we look at the market reforms, we've seen the removal of energy subsidy, we've seen exchange rate harmonization, devaluation, then we've seen a new recapitalization benchmark for banks, settling of valid $7 billion in foreign exchange backlog, at this time. So talk to me, how are you seeing President Tinubu's 1 year?
I would say a lot of unfulfilled, should we say, promises so far. I think before he came in, the big issues were right there: inflation, fall in consumption, insecurity, the oil sales going down, debt. Those are the big issues in front of him, right? And the first month he was inaugurated, we saw him remove subsidies from PMS. We saw him float the Naira, even though that was a CBN. We saw the students' loan. So there's a lot of speed at the very initial stage, but that speed has slowed down into a slight waddle. We see a lot of reversals of policy, key policy. PMS subsidies looks like it's back, even though it's not official. Inflation has not abated. We haven't pulled in any major FDI, but we're hearing FDI is leaving. The Naira is still, it's not a problem if it's weak, but it's unstable. We seem not to have an economic plan out there that we can say this is the framework of what we're trying to achieve in the next, say, quarter or 18 months. So all what we've listed there looks good, Laddie, but essentially the key big issues have not been fixed. Inflation, growth, consumption, that has not been fixed so far.
And let's think hypothetically now. Do you think any other government would have found it easier or had a better economic scorecard? Considering this government inherited about 22 trillion debt in Ways and Means.
I hear you. I mean, anyone that had come in out of the three leading candidates would have still had to remove fuel subsidies, might have floated the Naira, and would have had to face the debt. I think the difference in this case is the implementation of the policy. That's where I think the difference has been. If you compare the speed this time last year with today, it's been a marked difference. The debt is not a problem if you could securitize it and grow the economy. The debt is a problem because we haven't grown the economy. The revenues haven't come into the economy to pay off that debt. So our budget deficit is wider, and our forex revenues from the sale of crude oil isn't increasing. Remittances are also not increasing. That's the problem, Laddie, that the core fundamentals of the economy, those things that drive the economy, have not improved in 1 year. We can't fix the problem, but we want to see that there's a direction towards fixing the problem. And that's where we are stuck in that when we look at the results of 1 year, we are not sure if the problem is being fixed or if it's just been put in an ice bucket. We are not there yet. We have no plan and we have no indication that the administration has got a plan to fix these big issues. That's really where we are.
Right. But let's look at citizens' welfare at this time. The moves we've seen, from this administration. We saw the suspension of the currency redesign policy. We saw distribution of fertilizer to farmers, distribution of grains to citizens, expansion of the cash transfer, beneficiaries, establishment of a Nigerian education loan fund, just to, name a few at this time. How have you seen all of these moves?
Good policy on paper, but the pass-through effect is difficult to grasp, right? Fertilizer, but food is still expensive. Distribution of grains, food is still expensive. Cash transfers has been suspended. The minister has been suspended. as we hear and all that. Educational fund, it came, it went, now it's back in again, but has it really taken off? So not a lot has happened there. I like the new consumer credit, or is it consumer scheme that we want to start? I like that a lot. If we can get that up and running, we can try to affect consumption in the economy. I also like the fact that we are maybe spending some money to distribute grains and all that to the Nigerian population directly. It's increasing the cost of food, but we have to do it, right? But again, Ladi, the story is just that we've had lots of great policies on paper, but I think where the administration has been let down is at the implementation of what it wants to do. It seems to have an idea of what it wants to do, but it hasn't done them properly. That's where I would maybe fault them a bit. We can do more. We can move further. Look at the customs duty. Look at the VAT. There's a lot of taxes on the Nigerian households right now that we could take off, but we're not taking off. We could make customs duty 500 to 1. Nothing stops us from doing that. And that's a direct cash stimulus to all Nigerian households. We haven't done that. We're not being innovative or moving fast enough. That's just my take, Ladi.
Right. What would you say are the bright spots in President Tinubu's administration? I remember how the stock market rallied to levels not seen before.
Yeah.
It was tagged Tinubu. So tell me about the bright spots you've seen.
Yeah, again, like you said, stock market has been up. I think the stock market as an asset class, if you buy the index, it's actually beating inflation, which is major when you consider inflation is about 33%. So that's a good bright spot there. Has it brought money to Nigeria? Yes, we've seen a lot of Nigerians bringing money in to invest in Nigerian stock market and also in fixed income securities. But the bad side is that they are doing that because rates are very high. Again, I like the consumer credit scheme that we want to start. I like that a lot. I also like that he has sort of allowed the CBN to take over the FX management policy from the NNPC. So streamline those FX flows that we're no longer having to go through NNPC, the NNPC reports. Now it's directed to the CBN. I also like the way the CBN has maybe done more the monetary banking, try to go back to traditional banking, as it were. Those things are pretty good, and I think we've gotten a bit of clarity there in terms of policy. Those are the things we can say, yes, they are doing right, yeah, more or less. Mhm.
Okay, so let's dovetail into central banking at this time. We know there are some proposals to amend the 2007 CBN Act, at this time. Talk to me
Yeah.
about what you expect, from this.
I'm not sure what they want to do, but the rumors I'm hearing, they want to maybe take the CBN back on the Ministry of Finance. That's a no-no. Once we do that, it's all over, right? Because then, of course, we're going to get sanctioned because CBN no longer is quote-unquote independent. So I'm not sure what they want to touch. It's being kept under wraps for now. But we just want to emphasize that the central bank has got to remain independent. There's a reason why it's independent, especially with what we saw in the last CBN, where we were basically securitizing our ways and means and basically open up the ways and means to just become an ATM for the administration. So any reforms that strengthen independence is needed. Any reforms that take the CBN back under the Ministry of Finance is, of course, not needed. It's an unnecessary distraction. It's going to be an own goal, and it's going to basically take us back. So let's look forward to how we can strengthen independence, strengthen monitoring and governance of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and not take it back. Yeah.
Right, not take it back. Well, what's your outlook for the next coming years under President Tinubu, and what should this government be doing now to get some kind of soft landing for the Nigerian economy before the fourth year?
They've got to go after things that matter to Nigerians, the real things that matter. We're talking about inflation, food inflation. Food has got to be cheaper. You can't build economy around expensive food. So if you can get food cheaper, the Nigerians can start to listen to you and they can start to listen to your government's policies. So whatever it takes, if it's going to take importing food, if it's going to take subsidizing the import duties, the customs charges, food has got to come down to manageable levels. Once you get food out of the way, you can then start to talk about quick win infrastructure projects, not the long, large ones, but the very quick wins. Fix all the roads, get the potholes out of the way, the very quick ones. All the schools in Nigeria, see if you can fix them with local labor. So you are creating jobs, you are boosting the Human Development Index in those states and local government areas. I mean, very, very local, consumptive, stimulative activities at the local level that people can see, feel immediately. That's what they have to do in the next 12 months before we then talk about, okay, how can the macro side of the Nigerian economy then start to take place? They've left the micro and gone for the macro. And the micro guys are the ones screaming that we're hungry. And then they had to reverse all the policies to go back and say we're going to do palliatives, we're going to do students' loan and all that. So you've got to really focus on what people want. People want cheap food, people want security, people want certainty. Before you even talk about power supply, food is just too expensive, laddie. So that's just what I would say. Do the micro first before you even go to the macro. That's really what people are clamoring for.
Take care of the micro before taking care of macro at this time. That's the advice there. Thank you so much. It was great having you, Mr. Kalu Aja, financial analyst. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry. My pleasure.